On numbers 20 and 21, you're converting between degrees and radians. So on number 20, since we see the pi, we know this is in radians, so we want it to be in degrees. And this one, since we see the degree symbol, we know it's in degrees, and we want to change it to radians. Notice that this one's positive and this one's negative. We've talked about how that occurs. Remember, the natural progression in a coordinate plane is to go counterclockwise. So when we go counterclockwise, that's positive degrees and radians. But when we go clockwise, that's when we get the negative sign in front. All you have to know is that if your degree is in negative, you know your radians are going to be negative. If your radians are positive, you know your degree is going to be positive. So just don't lose that sign in your answer. So one thing that we talked about is that when you go all the way around the circle, we know that's 360 degrees. But we learned in radians that that's 2 pi radians. And so we use the conversion of only going halfway around the circle. So we know halfway, since all the way is 360 degrees, halfway is 180 degrees. And in radians, if all the way across or around is 2 pi, we know halfway across is only 1 pi. So we know that these are congruent to each other or comparable to each other, and that's what we use as our conversion. 180 degrees is equal to pi times radians. So you're going to multiply whatever you're given by this conversion. Now, sometimes you multiply by 180 over pi, and sometimes you multiply by pi over 180. Remember, whatever it is you're trying to get rid of goes in the denominator. So if you're trying to get rid of degrees, put the degree in the denominator. If you're trying to get rid of the pi radians, put the pi in the denominator. So number 20, we're given radians, so we're trying to get rid of radians. So we want to get rid of this pi. So I'm going to multiply by 180 over pi. So now I have a pi in the numerator and a pi in the denominator, and that's what allows me to get rid of the pi. So this is what I'm putting in my calculator. So we have 31 divided by 18 that we're multiplying by 80, and that's what I'm going to put in my calculator. It doesn't matter what mode you're in for this. This is just simple math. So 31 divided by 18 times 180 can be put in my calculator all at the same time. There's my fraction that I'm multiplying by 180, and I get 310. So that's my answer, which, remember, since I was given radians, this answer is a degree. So don't forget that degree symbol. So 310 degrees is the same thing as 31 over 18 pi radians. Number 21, we're given the degrees. So we want to get rid of the degrees. That means the degrees is what I need in the denominator. So I'm going to be multiplying by pi over 180 this time. So I'm going to take 275 degrees and multiply by pi over 180. And remember that 180 is a degree, so that's what gets rid of that unit, degrees. So this is what I want to put in my calculator. But remember, you're not going to put the pi in your calculator this time because we're not rounding. All I want to do is do the math among the numbers. Now remember, this is in the numerator. That's the same thing as if that was put over 1. And this is in the denominator. So when you have a number in the numerator and a number in the denominator, that is division between those two numbers, not multiplication. The multiplication is with the numbers that are in the numerator, but a numerator and a denominator number are divided. So I'm going to put in my calculator negative 275 divided by 180. Numerator, denominator. Again, my answer is going to be negative, and I don't want to round. I don't want a decimal, so I'm going to change that to a fraction by hitting the math and then enter 2 times. So that gives me the fraction. So that is equal to negative 55 over 36, but then don't forget, that's just the number part. The pi has to be in your answer. So here is the radian that is congruent or equivalent to the negative 275 degrees. Don't forget the negative sign, and don't forget your pi.